Hello my loves, I'm Ellie Frost, and on this channel we're talking about the multi-dimensional approach to rapidly and radically healing and transforming during and after narcissistic abuse. And this video is about how the narcissist erodes your self-esteem. This tends to happen just over time when we start abandoning ourselves to become what the narcissist needs us to be, or to keep the peace, or do what we think we have to do in order to stay safe in these situations, emotionally safe, physically safe, spiritually safe, right? But we start losing ourselves. We start becoming what they need us to be, yeah? And what we want and need doesn't matter in this cycle. It's all about the narcissist. We have to be what they need us to be. Otherwise, there's consequences like narcissistic rage, or maybe your passive aggressive behaviors, like when you get ignored, or maybe overt behaviors where you get shouted at and belittled and devalued. The longest stage of the narcissistic abusive cycle is the devalue stage, where they are constantly devaluing you. And this might start slowly and it will just keep building up over time. So we lose our self-esteem, we lose our confidence, we let go of our boundaries and values. We don't even know what they are anymore because they've all been eroded slowly over time. There's an analogy about if you tried to put a frog in boiling water, it would jump out. But if you put a frog in cool water and slowly turn the heat up, over time it will actually not jump out and boil itself to death. And that reminds me a bit of this cycle, that we're kind of being boiled to death, our identity, our sense of self, our self-esteem over time. And it tends to happen bit by bit. And all of a sudden we don't know who we are anymore. All of a sudden we're in dynamics that we didn't agree to. Yeah, I said that my ex, he was married, right? When I met him, he told me he was divorced. He wasn't living full time with his wife, but he was still married, right? And he was still trying to keep that relationship alive, as well as our relationship alive. Now, my boundary is monogamy. My standard is monogamy, but over time that was getting eroded, right? So slowly, bit by bit, over time, while we're trying to please the narcissist, maybe we're trying to keep the peace, maybe we're fawning them in order to feel safe, feel emotionally safe, physically safe, right? We're not being authentic. We're not being true to who we are and what we want and need. My definition of authenticity is not just being true to who you are, but it's also being true to what you want and need. So our wants and needs don't matter in this cycle, and our confidence at getting our needs met and being able to build the life that we want and actually live according to our authentic values and boundaries and standards gets eroded. And sometimes we just don't know who we are, right? In the middle of this cycle, we've become what the narcissist needs us to be, and we've been programmed that what we want doesn't really matter. Yeah. For a healthy relationship, right? One of the things that we need to have in a healthy relationship is shared values and a shared vision for the future as a couple. Or it doesn't have to be a romantic couple, but we've got to have a shared vision of what we want to receive and give in a relationship. And we've got to have shared values. And if we haven't got those, the relationship's going to be very difficult, right? Comment below if you've lost yourself in this cycle, right? Lost your identity, don't know who you are anymore, right? Lost your self-esteem. You can be very confident. I was very confident I traveled the world on my own. I did all sorts of things. And in these abuse cycles, like at the end of 2 of these relationships, I had no confidence at all. Yeah, I didn't believe I could do it. I thought that was the old me, that the new me now couldn't do the things that I used to do. I was scared. I was traumatized. I was traumatized about what can go wrong and how bad things can go, right? So fear of loss and fear of the future and fear of, what can happen in life was taking over, rather than my confidence at being able to be resourceful, to be able to look after myself, being able to make sure that people respect me, and knowing how to walk away and when to walk away from people who don't. Yeah. So however lost you may have felt, however lost you might be feeling, I promise you can come right back home to yourself. If you join my program Sovereign, that is what we do in there. We take you home. We get you clear. We get you living according to your authenticity, your values, your boundaries, your standards, and able to manifest your true best life, right? Because there's no love on the menu in a narcissistic relationship. They don't love. They're incapable of it. It doesn't mean that you didn't love them, but also what we fall in love with is generally the mask, is the narcissist in the love bombing stage, not in actuality. The true narcissist, their true self, is shown when they actually act out. We actually get to see like in the devaluing stage, who this person really is. And there's someone that just erodes you slowly over time. Yeah, and we don't feel strong when we're eroded. So again, sovereign's all about bringing that strength back, bringing that confidence back. Maybe you've never felt that confident. Maybe you've never been able to communicate what you want and need in relationships from people. And there's beautiful, powerful ways, and I do help people with communication, that we can actually communicate in relationships, right, and get our needs met. That doesn't have to come from a fight, doesn't have to be defensive, doesn't have to be you know, something that's awkward. There's actually really powerful ways we can communicate. Yeah. I've given an example of, like, say your friend was always late for dinner and that was really getting on your nerves and you felt like you didn't want to meet her or him anymore. You know, you can always say, like, you know, I really want to see you, but what I've noticed is you're always late and I really would appreciate it if you'd be on time, because if you can't be on time, my time's important to me and I'm not going to be able to meet up with you anymore, and I don't want that to happen. You know, we can say it in nice ways, in powerful ways, to get our needs met. We don't have to sit in suffering and in situations and relationships where we constantly feel eroded, where we constantly feel devalued. Yeah, the longest stage of the narcissistic abuse relationship is the devaluation stage, where slowly over time you're like the frog. Yeah, slowly boiling to death. Your identity, your wants and needs, your desires, all that kind of stuff. We want to break that cycle now. Right? We want to get our needs met in relationships. That's very, very important. We want to align with people with shared values and have a shared vision in our friendships, in our romantic relationships, in all of them, what we want to give and receive in relationships. We want to get clear on that. Most of us have often never been that intentional about it. We're not taught emotional intelligence at school, right? So again, if you join Sovereign, you're going to go through like a metamorphosis where you're going to really get clear on who you are, what you want and need, and you're going to be equipped to form better, healthier relationships, right? Which is what we all want. We don't want to be our identity and our self-esteem being boiled to death. And, you know, there's a lot, on the last video, I was talking about the shame and guilt we sometimes carry about how we've acted in these relationships. That really destroys our self-esteem. You know, when we're so outside of ourselves, we're now reacting in ways that are not true to us and that we're not proud of. That can really knock our confidence, that we've done things and said things that are not the true us, and we feel a lot of guilt and shame about. So we want to release that and forgive ourselves for that. See my last video on that, and be able to move forward, right, with confidence that we know how to behave, that if we're triggered, we know what to do, and we don't let people basically force us to self-abandon. Yeah, we've got a mama papa bear inside of us that's got our back. So if you want to join Sovereign, the details are in the comments. Please keep liking, subscribing and sharing. I love you, and I'll speak to you soon.